breaking news from the Eastern Front lines. In a stunning display of precision and tactical prowess, Ukrainian Air Force MiG-29 fighter jets have launched a daring airstrike deep into Russian-occupied territory. Their target, a heavily fortified underground depot in the Donetsk region, a location believed to house Russian Su-25 attack aircraft and other critical air assets. Using American-supplied GBU-39 small-diameter bombs, the Ukrainian MiG struck with surgical accuracy. Surveillance footage and satellite imagery now confirm widespread destruction beneath the Earth's surface. The Russian depot, once thought untouchable, has been turned into rubble. This marks one of the most significant air-to-ground operations by Ukraine in recent months. But here's the real shocker. How did aging Soviet-era MiG-29s, once considered relics of a bygone era, manage to deliver cutting-edge Western munitions with pinpoint accuracy? Has Ukraine just revealed a game-changing upgrade to its aerial strike capability? And more importantly, how did Russia, with its vaunted radar systems and layered air defenses, completely fail to intercept or even anticipate the strike? Could this be the beginning of a new phase in the war? One where Ukraine regains air superiority, at least in tactical pockets of the front. And let's not forget the deeper implication. These GBU-39 bombs were never designed for Soviet jets. Integrating them onto Ukrainian MiG-29s is not just a technical feat, it's a symbol. A signal that Ukraine is no longer fighting with just old hardware and desperation, but with ingenuity, adaptation, and Western backing that is growing bolder by the day. The GBU-39, also known as the Small Diameter Bomb, is a precision-guided glide munition developed by Boeing. It's compact, stealthy, and engineered to penetrate fortified structures with minimal collateral damage. What makes it deadly isn't just its blast, it's its brain. GPS-guided with an error margin of just 1 meter, it can strike exactly where it hurts the most. And when loaded onto MiG-29s, retrofitted with Western avionics and targeting pods, it becomes a high-speed, high-altitude missile delivery platform cloaked in old steel. This isn't the first time Ukraine has pulled off something like this, but it may be the boldest. Each airstrike behind enemy lines risks not just the aircraft, but the pilots, who are often flying low, dodging Russian S-400 missiles, and operating in hostile skies bristling with radar. But what's changing now is the level of confidence. Ukraine is no longer simply defending territory. It is projecting power, choosing its targets, and striking them on its own terms. Russian officials have downplayed the incident, calling it an exaggerated report by Western media. But on the ground, the damage tells a different story. Analysts suggest several Russian aircraft were either destroyed or rendered inoperable. Fuel depots and maintenance facilities may have been hit as well, compounding the strategic blow. And here's where things get even more interesting. These strikes are part of a growing pattern. Over the past 3 months, Ukraine has conducted at least a dozen deep strikes against Russian logistics hubs, command posts, and air assets. The difference now is the method. Instead of relying solely on drones or HIMARS systems, Ukraine is increasingly turning to manned aircraft, putting pilots back into the equation despite the risks. These pilots, many in their late 20s, some barely out of training when the war began, are flying retrofitted jets into one of the most heavily defended airspaces on Earth. They know the odds, they understand the risks, and yet they fly. They fly because they believe in something more than just orders. They fly because every bomb dropped, every depot destroyed, every enemy jet grounded, brings the war one step closer to a different ending. So, What does this mean moving forward? Is Ukraine developing a new doctrine of hybrid air warfare, mixing legacy platforms with cutting-edge munitions? Could this pave the way for NATO-grade fighter jets like the F-16 to enter combat operations with even more devastating effect? And if Russia's underground facilities are no longer safe, what remains? One thing is certain: the war in the skies over Ukraine is evolving, and the rules are being rewritten, not by the biggest air force, but by the boldest. In this war, ingenuity may be Ukraine's deadliest weapon, and the MiG-29 is far from obsolete.